Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. On behalf of my CAPE Physical Education and Sports class, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this sport conference on the development of sports in Anguilla. We are truly honored to have such a passionate and dynamic group of educators, coaches, athletes, and students gathered here today. This conference is more than just a meeting. It is a shared commitment of shaping the future of sports in Anguilla. Over the coming session, we'll explore fresh ideas, foster collaborations, and identify real strategies to evaluate sport development across the island. Thank you for being here, for your dedication, and for the energy you bring. Together, let's build a stronger, more vibrant sporting community in Anguilla. I will now invite Pastor Adams to lead us in prayer.
Good morning. Good morning to all. Let us please stand for prayer. Let us stand. As we pray. Heavenly Father, Lord God, we thank you, Lord, for the God that you are to us. Lord, we thank you for our nation, Anguilla. We thank you for each other. Lord, we thank you for sports and for athleticism, Lord. Father God, we ask your blessings upon those who are here to offer their expertise, Lord. We pray, dear Lord, as they put their hearts and their minds to developing sports in Anguilla, that you will give us the historical context, that you will give us the ideas, dear Lord, to expand and to improve sports in our little island. Father God, your word says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And even now, as we see more of our children, our young people being homebound, being introverted, Lord, we ask that there would be a revival in sports, dear Lord, to bring them out, to improve our health and indeed our lives. All this, Lord, we lay at the cross and at your feet, asking that your Holy Spirit would move among us and guide our every thought and word. This we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please remain standing for the national song. Standing for the school song.
Like a beacon shining brightly, we salute the ACC, answering its call to duty in our community. The education of the nation, that's so main ambition. forging a future that's safe and secure. It's a mission to endure, and we shall never lose our focus, that spirit, intellect, and purpose. It is an honor to work together, serving our community. Yes, we aspire to shape the future. We salute the ACC. With great pride and dedication, we pursue our mission to provide an education that's clearly second to none. Yes, we aspire to build a future and a better Anguilla. We take seriously our call to duty. Yes, we hail the ACC, and we shall never lose our focus, that spirit, intellect, and purpose. It is an honor to work together, serving our community. Yes, we aspire to shape the future. We salute the ACC.
You may be seated. Good morning, all. My name is Kevoy Harley, and I will be introducing your chairperson for today. Winston Duncan holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Science and a Master of Science degree in Ecology. Additionally, he possesses a teacher training certificate and is a certified teacher. He has also served as Science Curriculum Officer and held leadership roles such as President of Anguilla Volleyball Association and Vice President of the Anguilla Amateur Athletics Association. He was also a member of the North Sika Media Commission. Currently, he is president of the Roaring Lions Football Club and a coach of the Black and Gold Track and Field Club. His qualifications include being an IAAF Level 1 track and field coach, as well as holding a C license as a CONCACAF football coach. His impressive background highlights his dedication to education, sports, and community leadership. Introducing Winston Duncan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hawley. I apologize for being late, but nonetheless, we are going to start. It's a pleasure to see so many faces here this morning, and hopefully we get a lot more questions today as well. So to get the ball rolling, let me introduce our first speaker. Dr. Timothy Hodge has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration with a concentration in finance from the University of the Virgin Islands, an MBA from the University of the West Indies, a graduate certificate in creativity studies from the State University of New York, College at Buffalo, and a PhD in creative leadership for innovation and change from UVI. He was the Anguilla Social Security System first employee in 1981 and its director from 1986 until 2022. He is an adjunct faculty in the executive MBA and PhD programs of UVI. Dr. Hodge is a poet, a playwright, an actor, historian, writer, church leader, genealogist, and a lover and supporter of sports and games including cricket, bridge, and dominoes. He is a West Indies Cricket Board certified match referee and has recently been elected as the president of the Anguilla Cricket Association and an appointed member of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. Without further ado, I introduce to you Dr. Timothy Hodge.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. I may adopt the protocol that's established, and I'd like to say that it's good to see young people here who are interested in sports and have chosen this as their field of study. I've been asked to speak about the development of cricket in Anguilla, but I want to first take us on a journey in our minds. And I'll ask several questions. Where are we? How did we get here? Where do we want to get to? And what path should we take to get there? So I will ask you to take this journey with me. Where are we? Anguilla's cricket is in a state of crisis. Why do I say that? We have no active cricket league or leagues. We have only one functional cricket ground, functional in inverted commas, the James Arnold Webster Park. We have no proper facilities at that or any other ground. Inadequate practice facilities, no players facilities, inadequate spectator facilities. The list goes on and on. We have no female cricket. We could not put together a team of under 19 players for the recently held 2025 under 19 Leeward Islands Cricket Championship. Just took place in St. Kitts. We had to resort to having St. Martin include one of our players in their team. And no Anguillians have been selected in the Leeward Islands under 15 side. We have no funds. We face other factors such as, well, this is his opinion. Sir Curtly Ambrose, in a recent interview when asked, what is the biggest negative facing West Indies cricket? He stated, we face the issue of insularity. So you all are college students, so you should know what that word means, but just in case you don't, in our language, selection based on what island you come from. COVID-19 interrupted cricket development, including the school's cricket program. So all of these factors together, I think you would agree with me that our cricket is in a state of crisis. Now, there are positives. All is not lost. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. There are some glimmers of hope. We have a committed sports office. We have a knowledgeable, committed, and shall I say, passionate minister responsible for sports who is fresh on the job, so therefore he should be willing and raring to go. And he is a former professional cricketer. Trained coaches. We have trained coaches. We have 2 cricket academies. We have talented players, although there's a very small pool of active players. We have a committed Anguilla Cricket Association, if I may say so. We have cricketers who have been performing. Jamal Hamilton recently amassed over 500 runs in the regional tournament, the first Leeward Islands player to do so. And we know that he's the second Anguillan test player after Omari Banks, of course. Manson Hodge was the biggest run getter in last year's territorial Leeward Islands tournament. Dimitri Adams was a top player in the regional T20 held in St. Kitts last year when Anguilla was the losing finalist. Some say should have been the winner. Ethan David, young left-handed fast bowler, is on the Leeward Islands list of emerging cricketers, which means that people have their eyes on him for future, because there's not many left-handed fast bowlers, so he has an advantage. And he is the one who just played with St. Martin. Anguilla holds 2 positions on the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, including the position of Vice President, and also the position of the Leeward Islands representative on the West Indies Cricket Board. So there are positives. Now, how did we get here? How did we get here? There's been a lack of focus on sports development and a lack of focus on cricket development. There's a lack of funding, and there's a failure. There's been a failure to recognize the tremendous opportunities offered in the game of cricket. I'll just stop there. So where do we want to get to? So in considering where we want to get to, we have to consider what is out there. What are the possible destinations? What are the benefits of those destinations? So do we go to, if we're here, do we go to West End? Do we go to Island Harbor? Do we go to the Forest? Right? Or do we go to Shoal Bay? What are the advantages of going in either direction? So cricket, let me tell you, this surprises a lot of people, is the second most popular sport in the world, with a fan base of 2.5 billion, second only to soccer. Football, soccer, second only to soccer. Of course, because soccer can be played anywhere, everywhere, just a football, just kick it on the beach wherever you are and you're playing football. So, fans watch cricket, sponsors spend massive sums to reach those fans who are consumers, and players earn big dollars from television rights and other match revenues for playing the game that attracts those fans. How in the world do you get to 2.5 billion people being fans of cricket? Because cricket is now being played all over the world. It is a sport developed in Britain and the British Commonwealth, and so traditionally it existed only in England, Australia, New Zealand, West Indies, Pakistan, India, and then they started to add Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Ireland, and those are the test playing countries. Did I leave out any? But now, cricket has expanded across the world. And therefore, cricket presents tremendous opportunities for both male and female players. Again, cricket is now being played internationally by men and women. There was just concluded a Women's World Cup in India. In fact, women's cricket is increasing rapidly in popularity, with teams now in Mexico, China, Fiji, Spain and France, Romania, Philippines, Japan, name it, but not Anguilla. So opportunities that exist are representative sides at the under 15, under 17, under 19, and senior levels, both male and female. Opportunities for Anguillan players to be selected in Leeward Islands cricket, 4-day, 1-day, and 2020 teams. Anguillan players selected in West Indies cricket, Test cricket, 1-day, 2020, and List A sides. Anguillan captains, managers, and coaches at regional and international levels. Opportunities for Anguilla to host first class and other regional and international cricket. An opportunity is here right now for Anguilla to co-host with St. Martin the Leeward Islands 3-day and 50-over territorial tournaments. Opportunity. And very importantly, for you young people, us young people, restoration of the spirit of community, where village cricket, softball, and hardball would counter the nonsensical youth on youth, east versus west, and north versus south, and wherever else violence we have in this little island of ours. So when we were growing up, we played cricket in Blowing Point, West End, all over. And never had a fear. And if you got caught and you couldn't get home from Blowing Point, you found a house, one of your friends' house, you sleep in it, and your mother didn't worry about where you were. And then cricket, of course, as a team sport, instills values of perseverance, discipline, improvement, respect and friendship, opportunities to travel and see the world, and earn plenty of money as cricket professionals. So what path should we take to get there? There are many voices shouting directions. You know, as I was getting ready to come here this morning, at 7:30 this morning, I got a phone call about what we're doing in cricket, and what we should be doing. 7:30 this morning, all right? So, and I was speaking about it at 10:30 last night. So there are many voices shouting directions, but the journey requires strategic thinking and action. And so our Cricket Association has decided to focus on youth and women's cricket. Youth and women's cricket, because if you focus on them, then you're going to have players who progressively get to the senior and to the West Indies team, which is the highest level. We must invest in cricket. It will bear dividends. It will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Success will breed success. And eventually it will attract sponsorship, which will reduce the demand on the public purse. We must accept the fact that cricket is an expensive sport. I spoke about playing football on the beach. All you need is a football and 2 sticks for your goal post. But cricket requires bats, pads, stumps, bails, helmets, and other gear, protective gear, and several new balls for every match. So it's an expensive sport, all right? So let's accept that fact and move on. It is absolutely vital to increase the number of cricket grounds. Our association has been looking at the Blowing Point field, which is privately owned, but we're trying to see how we can get it. And other possibilities exist at Sandy Ground and elsewhere. We used to play cricket in Country Bottom. And I guess very few of you know where Country Bottom is. It's west of the Sandy Hill roundabout. We are requesting a meeting with the Minister of Sports, his colleagues in the cabinet of the government of Anguilla and the sports office to make this a reality. You know, we've been hearing about the AI revenues. A few weeks of AI revenues should be able to finance this. We must improve facilities at the James Arnold Webster Park. And we must make sports, including cricket, to be co-curricular activity, not extracurricular activity. This is the mantra of the Vice President of the Anguilla Cricket Association, Mr. Bonnell Watley, who's a former teacher. So he understands that students need to be doing the academic stuff. But also he understands that cricket and sports, other sports, need to be given equal, that's the reason why you are studying this, equal place. Not just that you have athletics in the semester, the term that just finished, and then football maybe in the next one, and then cricket in the next one. No. If you're a cricketer, if that's your sport, you should be playing sport all year long. How do you think, we saw the Carafta games just going on. You think that somebody just jumped up there and for 3 months of the year, practiced running, and then went into the Carafta games and won gold? Absolutely not. So leadership is required as well. Leadership is key. So let me end my presentation here by taking a look at what happens. I saw this morning. Popped up on my phone. Leadership, what happens when a beehive loses the queen bee? The queen bee is the one who alone is charged with giving life to the colony, maintain order in a perfectly organized society. So when the queen bee dies, all seems lost. So all seems lost, and if all is lost, then in a while everybody in the colony will die and disappear. So what happens is that this fascinating process takes place. The worker bees, right, their job was just to work. They get together and they select one of them to be the queen bee. And that queen bee is now nurtured, fed with the most nutritious stuff, and that queen bee's life expectancy is increased 20 times over the worker bees, because all they do is work. She does not work. She gives birth and she gives orders. She maintains order. So what happens? The leader is born out of crisis. It's as if in our society, take an ordinary child, give them the necessary care, environment, and support, and then you make them an extraordinary leader. Without fireworks, just with support and vision. A leader is born out of crisis. This metamorphosis does not just save the larvae, it saves the entire colony. Once a new queen is ready, she takes over the hive, begins to lay eggs, restores order, and begins a new cycle of collective life. Threatened with extinction, the colony is reborn stronger, more organized, more balanced. So the bee shows us without words that in times of great crisis, despair is not a gamble, but clarity, a plan, the right choice, attention and direction to their world. A queen is not born, she is supported, fed, and guided. So we need leadership if we are to take Anguilla cricket out of this state of crisis. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hodge. I hope you listened carefully to what he's saying. And some of the key points that came out, there is definitely the need for cricket to be back in the schools, both secondary and primary. We'll give the campus B students time to leave, as another set will be coming back. So yes, it's important that cricket be back within the schools. As some of you, well, probably not this set, but some of the persons here at the head table would recall, during the third term, there was always the cricket season for the schools. The different houses had their teams, and if you go even further back, there was the time when the primary schools and the secondary school played each other. They played each other. That's when you had the up to age 16 at the primary schoolers, because I recall playing against Island Harbor. We played against Second Form. We also played against some other primary school. But it is needed back in the curriculum, because not everyone is a track athlete, not everyone is a footballer. So you need to give those children an opportunity to recognize their abilities. Also, as he lamented in the very early segment of his presentation, we don't have your underage teams, your under 19, your under 17, your under 15 teams. And as he said, 2 persons from Anguilla had to join with St. Martin in order to be part of the Leeward Islands tournament this year. So efforts have to be made to get persons involved, and you young ones, your job is to encourage persons to participate in different activities so that they can recognize their strengths. Thank you again, Dr. Hodge. We look forward to seeing cricket back at the Webster Park, at Sandy Ground, and at Blowing Point. Those were some of the areas, and hopefully at West End too. We can start with primary school events, graduate to secondary school events, and get back the community playing so that the nonsense that now exists in terms of violence towards each other can stop. So let us move on. Our next presenter, Miss Hermina Rasmond Henderson, was born on January 9th, 1970, on the beautiful island of Dominica, and now proudly calls Anguilla her home. Her life's journey has been shaped by a deep love for learning, service, and sport, and she takes pride in the path she has walked so far. Her educational journey began at the Marigot Foundation High School in Dominica and continued in Anguilla at the Comprehensive Learning Center and the Community College. She later earned an associate degree in business studies, a level 3 qualification in business administration from Nottingham College in the UK, and a certificate in ship registration from Lloyd's Maritime Academy. Education has always held a special place in her heart, not just as a personal goal, but as a powerful tool to uplift and empower others. Today, she serves as a registrar of ships within Anguilla's Ministry of Infrastructure, where she contributes to the growth and regulation of the island's vital maritime sector. Hermina takes great pride in this role, which demands professionalism, attention to detail, and unwavering dedication. Outside of her professional responsibilities, Hermina is deeply passionate about netball, a sport that has brought her immense joy and purpose. She has completed coaching and umpiring qualifications throughout the Caribbean Netball Association and spent 3 years coaching at the Mars Vanderpool Primary School. This was followed by 8 years at the Valley Primary. She enjoys watching children grow in confidence, teamwork, and skill development on the court, as it remains one of the most fulfilling aspects of her life. For over 2 decades, Ms. Henderson has served the Anguilla Netball Association in various capacities. For the past 3 years, she has led the association as president, a role that goes beyond the sport to focus on creating opportunities for young people, particularly those who often feel unseen, unheard, and unsupported. She firmly believes that every child deserves a chance to prove themselves. This belief fuels her passion for working with underprivileged youth, whether through netball, education, or mentorship. Ms. Henderson strives to be a steady source of encouragement and understanding that sometimes one's personal belief can change a life. When not working or volunteering, she can be often found swimming, reading, cooking something delicious, or lacing up her sneakers for a friendly game of netball. These simple joys keep her grounded and connected to the things she loves the most. Ms. Henderson's story is still unfolding, but each chapter so far has been guided by purpose, perseverance, and the many people who have inspired her along the way. After such a long introduction, I present to you Ms. Henderson.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, a correction with the name. It's not Herminia, it's Hermia. Okay. 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 It is a great honor to stand here today before you to discuss a topic that is close to my heart. the contribution, challenges, and innovation that have shaped the development of netball in Anguilla. I am therefore thrilled to share with you insights into how this beloved sport has evolved on Anguilla and the work that still lies ahead to ensure its continued growth and success. So we ask the question, how does netball contribute to Anguilla? Netball to me, it is not just a game. It is a vital part of my cultural fabric. In the early days, it evolves from a small, close-knit group of individuals who came out together to play, coach, or represent Anguilla, whether locally or internationally. It was a bunch of ladies. We all love the game from different countries, parts of the Caribbean, some Anguillan, some outside of Anguilla. We would come mainly at Thursday or Tuesday evening, and we would spend a great amount of time on the netball court. There we would play, exercise, discuss. It was a gathering for us. It wasn't just all about netball. It was a gathering, a social event where we met each other and socialize, play, have fun, argue, everything that women could do when they get together. We did. As the interest in netball grew, teams began to form. And as the teams were formed, it became clear that engaging the younger players was essential. So this led to the introduction of netball at the school level. The primary school tournament played a vital role in nurturing young talent, while competitions at the high school level laid the foundation for many of our future stars. The establishment of organized competition, such as the Business League, the Village League, the Island League, has further enhanced the sport's visibility and popularity. Moreover, the participation in regional tournaments, such as the under-13, the under-16, the under-23, or the seniors, competed in local and regional tournaments. The efforts to promote netball in schools have contributed to Anguilla gaining recognition across the Caribbean Committee. So we had players from the under-13 representing us in St. Kitts, Dominica. We had under-16, same St. Kitts, Dominica. The Nevis, the under-23 players played most of the Caribbean, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent, the BVI, and different Guadeloupe, St. Martin. A number of Caribbean islands, we had players representing us a different level, different age level. Therefore, over the years, netball has served as a platform for physical activity, personal development, and community cohesion. What has truly helped netball thrive in Anguilla is the unwavering passion and commitment from our players, coaches, and officials. Many of our athletes have advanced to represent Anguilla regionally and internationally. Competitions demonstrating the remarkable talent that existed within our small community. So nothing is without challenge, and netball did have and does still have challenges. So some of the challenges that we face in netball, despite the important contribution, the development of netball in Anguilla has not been without challenges. A major obstacle we face is the lack of resources and facilities. We are limited to a single aging court, inadequate training equipment, and dedicated training spaces. This significantly affects the quality of training especially when compared to netball programs in countries with more developed infrastructure. Another challenge is the limited number of qualified coaches and umpires. While we are fortunate to have passionate individuals who volunteer their time and their skills, there is a lack of formal training and certification opportunities. This limits our ability to raise the standard of play. In particular, coaching requires a deep understanding of both the technical and psychological aspect of the sports. Areas which are still developing here in Anguilla. Despite the challenges, we have seen encouraging innovations that are paving the way forward. One exciting development is the introduction of mobile community-based training programs. This program will bring coaching directly to the communities, allowing players from even the outer districts to stay engaged and continue to grow. These efforts are essential in keeping both young and older players active and inspired. We have also started incorporating digital technology into our training methods. Video analysis and online resources are helping coaches and players refine their techniques and deepen their understanding of the game. Those still in the early stages, these tools are already beginning to make a positive impact. A few days ago, we had an online training session with an umpire from the UK. So we are incorporating the use of the digital technology to help with us. The training session we do, as coaching with the primary school, we do sessions like we do online, where we introduce certain game, play certain skills to the younger players from online, so that they can see netball play and they can understand the skills in which it takes to prepare them for their tournament, like the primary school tournament, which will be next week. So we engage the children in learning the game outside of the court, outside of the classroom, helping them to see how others play. Some areas for development. As we celebrate our progress, we must also recognize the areas that still require focused attention. So our coaching and certification. We need a structure and a sustainable approach to coaching education. This includes not only certification programs, but also ongoing professional development. By investing in our coaches, we ensure our athletes receive high-quality training aligned with international standards, ultimately raising the level of play across the island. Officiating. Increasing the number of certified umpires and match officials is vital. Proper officiating ensures fair play, consistent enforcement of rules, and a better experience for players and spectators. Maintaining and administrative support. Effective administration is critical to support long-term success. With the administrative aspect of the netball, we have been struggling for a while for having the full administration functioning. We had people volunteer at the time. Some was elected to act in certain position and they wasn't fulfilling this position, and sometimes you find one or two persons have to pull the string. So the support and the help and administrative into doing things that need to be done off and off the court is very vital, and we must create clear athlete development pathways and build sustainable systems that support players, coaches, officials, and other key stakeholders. The quality and availability of training and competition venues must be improved. So the court area needs to be upgraded. We need proper access to equipment and additional playing space. It would be nice if we have additional courts. There is one in Eastern which we use at times, but to have courts across the island so we can take the game outside of the valley. Even though in years gone by, we would have gone to Blowing Point, South Hill on the basketball court. We would have played on Saturday evenings. Sometimes we have games out there, and North Hill basketball courts we carry out there. But we need to have netball courts because the basketball court is slightly smaller than the netball court. So you cannot really play a proper game, even though you can do the same skill set there. So we need more courts, we need more facilities that you can do more netball outside of the valley area. So like many grassroots sports, netball faces challenges in securing consistent funding. Without adequate financial support, it is difficult to maintain the sport. Sometimes you have to travel, or you need equipment, you need uniforms, you need stuff, even to host a local tournament, you need finance, you need stuff. So the support is not always there, it's not always ready for the game. So having adequate support would benefit not only the Anguilla and the whole, the players, it will benefit everybody involved. So without adequate financial, it is difficult to maintain facility, invest in programs, or assist players and teams. We must continue to advocate for increased investment and pursue partnership with local business and organizations to ensure the sport's sustainability. So in conclusion, netball in Anguilla has come a long way. We have made significant strides in participation, competition, and grassroots development. However, for the sport to truly flourish, we must continue to address the ongoing challenges in coaching, officiating, infrastructure, and support system. I believe that with continued dedication from all stakeholders, athletes, coaches, administration, the government officials, and the wider community, netball in Anguilla can reach new heights by investing in people, improving our facilities, and securing necessary resources. We can ensure that Anguilla remains a competitive and respected force in the Caribbean netball and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Henderson. As some of you may know, Ms. Henderson is Artisha's mom, who got a track and field scholarship to the University of North Texas, and she now, Artisha that is, she has her own netball program in the U.S. So yes, the love continues. I hope you are listening carefully. Some of the main points that were brought out, despite the size of the netball pool, Anguilla has been able to participate in regional and international tournaments. But like most other associations, they do face challenges: the lack of resources, the lack of facilities, and the lack of equipment. There's a need for the upgrading of coaches and umpires. But some good things are still coming out. You have the community-based programs and the use of the online training with affiliates in England or elsewhere. So we thank you, Ms. Henderson. We know it's a rough road, but somebody has to travel it. Please note that we're going to have the questions after the end of the presentations, so just keep taking notes and creating your questions. Okay, good. We are going to move on. So the next presenter is Mr. Jason Liebert. Jason Liebert has been involved in organized volleyball since 1993. As a student at the University of the Virgin Islands, he was a member of the UVI men's varsity team until he graduated in 1999. Immediately after graduation in 2010, he was the head coach of the UVI men's volleyball team. During this time, he also coached the United States Virgin Islands men's national team and was president of the St. Thomas St. John Volleyball Association. Starting in 2002, he worked as an accountant at UVI until he migrated to Anguilla in 2011. Upon moving to Anguilla, he played for the Kumite volleyball team for several years. Not long after being in Anguilla, he was asked to lead the men's national team as they competed in regional tournaments. In 2018, he was voted in as the president of the Volleyball Association. Since becoming president, he has started several teams: Falcons, Unemployed, High Velocity, which have been participating in local tournaments. His coaching has now been extended to the women's national team and the under-23 men's and women's national teams in the most recent times. In 2024, he was once again voted in as president of the Anguilla Amateur Volleyball Association. His professional career as an accountant continued as he took up employment at Maico in 2011. To this date, his employment as the finance manager at the local company is going on 14 years. He's committed to the sport of volleyball He's committed to the sport of volleyball. His commitment to the sport of volleyball is unmatched as he works to continue for the growth of the sport in Anguilla. Without further ado, Mr. Jason Liber.
Good morning, students, fellow panelists, guests. Today, I'll be talking to you about volleyball, and I'll be touching on basically 4 different aspects. I'll be talking about, giving you a brief history on volleyball. I'll be talking to you about the challenges that we face here in Anguilla. I'll be telling you about some of the accomplishments we have experienced in recent years. And also be telling you about the goals that the association has for itself or for its athletes. Volleyball actually was created in 1895. And it actually is a combination of several sports. Volleyball is a combination of basketball, baseball, tennis, and handball. So those 4 sports, the founder, who was William Morgan, took pieces from those 4 sports and created volleyball. Currently, volleyball is being run by the FIVB, or the International Volleyball Federation, which is based in Switzerland. This organization was actually set up in 1947. The FIVB has within it 5 confederations or 5 zones. We have the Asian Volleyball Confederation, the African Volleyball Confederation, the European Volleyball Confederation, the South American Volleyball Confederation, and the North Central American and Caribbean Confederation. Many of us may not know this, but volleyball actually is actually very popular. It is the 5th most popular sport in the world, with over 900 million fans. That's a lot of folks, all right? Now, Anguilla became a member of FIVB way back in 1991, and since then, we have been participating in FIVB sanctioned tournaments over the years. Now, some of the challenges that we have here in Anguilla in terms of volleyball, and not just sound like a broken record, but I think I'm going to say some of the same things that our cricket and our netball representatives spoke about. I have them pooled into 3 categories: financial, and I have population, I have facilities. In today's world, without proper financing, there's not much to get done. For us to grow as volleyball players, we need to be able to compete against other athletes outside of our country. And just to travel these days is very expensive, right? And so that's a problem that we have in terms of being able to get enough match experience, primarily because of the cost of travel. As an association in Anguilla, we do not have a whole lot of financing. Our monies that we get are generally derived from fundraisers that we host locally. And of course, we get some subventions from the government to assist us in our travel and other matters off island. However, without the proper financing, we are unable to acquire very much needed equipment, which we think would enhance the training ability of our athletes. So that's one thing that we are trying to work on very hard recently, is to be able to find funding so that we could get the necessary equipment so our athletes could get top-notch training. Our next challenge that we come across, we figured the population, and you might ask population. Yes, Anguilla only has about 13,000 persons total. And of that, we estimate about 5,000 of us are 30 years and under. Those 5,000 athletes basically has to be split amongst football, cricket, netball, track and field, volleyball, tennis, bike riding. That's 7 so far. I'm sure I'm missing out on a few. Swimming, all right? So the problem is there's not enough athletes to go around for all these sports. So what happens is that we have 1 or 2 athletes, or actually we have many athletes that play 1, 2, or 3 sports. And that in itself creates a problem in that those athletes cannot focus or spend enough time with a sport to get to the level that they need to get to acquire scholarships, for example, right? So the population, or the size of the population in Anguilla, for us, we consider that to be a problem because we think it's too small. We don't have enough persons to choose from. And so that has been a problem for us over the years. Another problem that we're having is with the facilities. And this is common again with a lot of other sports, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. Volleyball is an indoor sport. And until recently, we haven't had access to an indoor facility to train or to even play our tournaments. We've been playing outdoors for many years, which means a rainy night or a windy night or even a cold night where you have a lot of dew could create a problem for us on the court. And that has been hampering our training efforts for many years. Now, recently, we've gotten access to the Campus B auditorium, but that also comes with its challenges because it's actually needing of some repairs at the moment. So, facilities is critical for the development of any sport anywhere in the world, and Anguilla is no exception. Now, we're also involved in beach volleyball, and that also requires some sort of facility. You say beach volleyball, we have nice beaches. Yes, we do. However, the space on the beaches, on many of the beaches, are not conducive to volleyball playing. Okay, it needs to be a flat surface. You need to have room to run. That's one. And 2, to set up and break down a court off the beach on a regular basis is also very time-consuming, because we are not really allowed, as it is now, to leave our setup, which is our poles and our nets on the parts of beaches. So that too is a need for us. We need to have a sand court We're hoping that we get one in the Valley area, which will allow us to train more often and develop our athletes in that area as well. Because beach volleyball is a growing sport, and we, as a small nation, could do some damage in that area going forward. Now, having said all that, we have had some success over the years, and we've had some growth in volleyball on the island over the years. We started off with the officials. We've made a point of upgrading our coaches. So we have, in the last 3 years, we have about 15 new coaches that were certified in level 1. That means we have more persons to go out and teach the sport in the primary school or in the villages. And so that's something that we have been working on in terms of getting our coaches and referees up to par. We also recently trained 4 officials. And these officials travel actually throughout the region to officiate matches when we have volleyball tournaments in the region. And so we have over 15 coaches in level 1, and we have 2 coaches with a level 2 certification. And we are hoping that this year, those coaches that are level 2 will move on to get the level 3, which is the highest, and those coaches that were in level 1 will now move up to get level 2. And that will just enhance the ability to administer the sport to the athletes that we have on the island. Now, with all those limitations, we still, again, we've been able to do a lot of things. We have an annual primary school volleyball tournament, which goes on, and it's very exciting. The kids have a lot of fun. The parents come out and support, and that's a great thing. We also have the high school volleyball tournament, which we also run every year. And we've also developed a grassroots program, and this will be some of the same coaches that got certified a few years back becoming more useful. The grassroots program basically takes our primary school students and teach them the basics of volleyball. Right? In addition to that, we've also established the Volleyball Academy, which is primarily set up for folks like you, or high school students. And that has been running for 2-3 years now, and actually has been very successful, because out of that academy, we were able to create an under-21 men and women volleyball team, which competed in 2023 in the ECVA regional tournament. And again, we'll be doing the same competition again this year for the under-23 indoor volleyball players. Now, we've also expanded our wings. We've been doing a lot in beach volleyball, and as we go on in my presentation, you'll get a lot more information on the success that we've been having in beach volleyball. Now, I said we have a senior men's national team and a senior women's national team, and these teams compete in regional tournaments basically yearly, right? We've advanced to the second round of the FIB World Championships. Basically, it's a tournament that happens every 4 years, and your goal is to qualify for the tournament. And they have like 4 separate rounds, and we've moved on from the first round to the second round several times in the past 10 to 12 years. Like I said earlier, we've created a junior national team, and they competed in 2023. I think the ladies went to Dominica, and the men went to BVI, Tortola in the BVI. Now again, beach volleyball, and this is where I think we have been most accomplished in recent times. We've been competing in beach volleyball on the North Sector Tour, which is the zone that Anguilla is currently a part of. So we've been doing that with our senior men and women, and we've been doing that annually. We go out and compete in beach tournaments. And we're using that opportunity, that avenue, as a means for us to learn and gain experience. Because we haven't been winning a lot on the senior tour. However, the experience and exposure has been very good, and we're hoping that someday our fortunes will turn around. We've also been competing in the under-23 tournaments, and this is the beach I'm talking about, which is 2-on-2 on the sand in the hot sun, right? And that's something that we've been doing annually. And as a matter of fact, I think there's a tournament in June that we are hoping that we'll be able to send again our young men and young women to compete in that tournament, which is supposed to be in the Cayman Islands in sometime in June. And then to the big one, for the last 2 years, we have been competing in the Under-21 ECVA Beach Championship. And this tournament has been held in St. Kitts in 2023, 2024, and again it's going to be held in St. Kitts this year in June. Now, in 2023, when we participated in this tournament, we placed third on the women's side. I think the men was fifth. That was our first beach tournament. I thought the teams did really well, and we came back and we trained hard again. And in 2024, our women won the tournament. Now, I'll tell you, our representatives are actually in the stand, in the audience. We have Lavisha Richardson and DeAndre Fleming. So when they go back to St. Kitts in June, they'll be going back as defending champions, hoping to repeat what happened last year. And the goal here is basically, once we compete and we do well in St. Kitts, the teams, both men and women, would have to place in the top 3. We then get to travel to South America to compete again in another tournament. And then from there, we get to go to Georgia in Europe to compete in the World Under-21 Beach Tournament. So we are hoping that our girls and our guys will be able to step up to the plate and do what's necessary to be successful in this area. Now, why do we play volleyball? I mean, really, the association and Anguilla, our goal primarily is to give our students, our athletes, an avenue for us to grow and develop. We feel that volleyball provides an opportunity for us to get scholarships. And recently, this year, I've been on the phone with several recruits from the States who've been calling and wanting to get athletes, mainly female athletes, to play volleyball. Unfortunately, we have not been able to furnish them with anyone as yet. But it's an ongoing process, and we are hoping that our athletes would put in the time to get to the level that they need to be, so that when we get these phone calls, they can take advantage of these opportunities and earn a free education. You don't necessarily have to be a professional volleyball player, but we feel that if you could earn an education through a sport that you love, I think that would be a great thing, and that would be enough. Once you graduated, you don't have to play anymore. You can just come back and help teach the sport to the students in the schools. Right? So our goal is to develop our athletes to the point where they are college ready and they can get scholarships to go to school. And that's something that we've been trying to push. As I said, we have contacts in the States and other places, and it's just a matter of us getting to the level that we need to be to take advantage of these opportunities that we have. Now, in wrapping up, I'll say, anybody who knows me would know I do 2 things. I work and I play volleyball, right? Now, some of you may not want to do that. However, I'm encouraging you to come out and get involved in some sort of sporting activity. It's important. It's good for your health. It keeps you out of trouble. And it could provide you with a free education. So I think everyone should consider getting involved in some sport. It doesn't have to be volleyball, but you need to get involved in some sort of sporting activity. I think it's just be good for you as a student, as a young person, going forward. And with that, I'll say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leiber. That was a very detailed presentation. Just to note before I forget, please note this event is being streamed live. You can find it. You can find the site. It's in Anguilla. There's a gentleman from the States, Dr. Demane Thomas. He's looking at it right now. So you never know who sees you and what they see. So to summarize what Mr. Liebert said, and I will add my few points. Hopefully I have on the right to. Thank you, Mr. Liebert, for your consent. Volleyball has grown from strength to strength. For the older ones present, that is, persons at the head table, you would recall when volleyball was probably the most popular sport, well, outside of boat racing, on the island. Following hurricane in 1995, there was a reduction in the participation in the sport. However, with time, the sport has grown. And what I enjoyed the most while I was with the Volleyball Association, and what I still do now, to see that from a 35 square mile island, Anguilla has been able to participate in round 2 of the world qualifiers. So in case you don't know what that means, round 1 would be your neighboring islands. So you find that they play each other. Round 2 is where you go to the bigger countries, whether it be to South America, play Trinidad, Jamaica, what have you. So it speaks volume to go from a population of some 15,000 to playing countries whose mere cities, they have the entire population of your island. So continue working hard, Mr. Liebert. So to keep the ball rolling, we are now going to have a presentation by Mr. Rollins Richardson. So I need you to hold on for that one because this one is going to be really special. So listen carefully, please. Mr. Rollins Richardson of South Hill is a former athlete, physical education teacher, and sports administrator whose life exemplifies commitment to sports. Mr. Richardson's passion for sport did not end with the fulfillment of his job requirements. He is a World Athletics Level 4 coach and a Level 1 lecturer. During his personal time while as an employee and now during his retirement, he has demonstrated commitment to the development of young athletes through coaching, mentorship, and leadership for over 4 decades. He has organized numerous sporting events to provide opportunities for competition, advocates for sports scholarships to enable athletes to pursue higher education, and open doors of opportunity for athletes to improve their skills. Many of the accomplishments of Anguilla's most notable athletes can be attributed to the foundation and support provided to them by Mr. Richardson. Additionally, Mr. Richardson has arranged developmental programs for coaches and administrators to enable them to excel in the local and global sports communities. To this day, he remains a key contributor to sports development in Anguilla. A little more about Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson is the first Anguillian trained in physical education and sport at the G.E. Foster College in Jamaica. He has facilitated the first sports scholarship for an Anguillian track and field athlete. Mr. Richardson is responsible for the introduction of PE and sport at the CXC level for the Albina Lake Hodge Comprehensive School. As said earlier, he's a Level 4 coach and a Level 1 lecturer. He also introduced cheerleading in Anguilla at the ALCHS Sports Day. He is also responsible for the application of world-renowned Zarnell Hughes to the Regional High Performance Training Center in Jamaica. And on a personal note, he placed second in the 30K race in Aruba in 1983. I can go on all day, but Mr. Richardson will definitely fill in the the notches here. So without any further ado, Mr. Richard.
Thank you very much. And as Mr. Duncan would say, I will fill in a little piece here. He left out the part where I was also a wrestler. Anybody ever watch wrestling on TV? So in the late 90s, wrestling was the big show on TV in Anguilla. And I happened to have in my last wrestling match, I was defeated. So I retired after that. So my opponent at the far side, Mr. Colin Johnson, he had a wrestling match. And this match took place at the Aurelia Kelly Primary School. This was, in our day, the way we raised funds for athletics. We would have a show called Athletes on Stage. So we get those who can sing, who can dance, who can clap their hands, whatever they can do, to come out. But to spruce it up, we announced this match between Colin Johnson and myself. And the hall was filled. So at the beginning of the match, Colin come out with a big, tough shot. He was the Antiguan Mala. You know, he had a Ugandan Mala on the TV, and he's stomping, and he's stomping, and he's stomping. So I had to boost that up. I took a scissors and I cut my T-shirt. And when I run to the corridor, I just rip it off, because at that time I had my abs and everything, so I could afford to do that. So I ripped my shirt and I roll on the stage. Colin did not allow me to get up. He put me in a Boston Crab immediately and held me there till I tap out. So if you didn't get there early, you missed the match. Following that, we had a next concert plan for Road School the very next week. So we gone down to Road School with the same poster, and everybody come to see Colin defend his title against me. But my back never healed by then. So I went on stage. Everybody expecting showdown, but who you think I had to call out? Mr. Winston Duncan, who was a teacher. So here's Winston saying, what I gonna do? I say, fight him. So everybody by the door paying the money to come in. And as Winston get on stage, Colin put him in a figure 4, and he couldn't get out. So if you didn't get in time, you missed that match again. So those were the ways we raised funds for athletics in the early days. We ourselves, coaches and athletes, had to go there and do all sorts of things. Before us, we had persons who would, you know soldier crab? People put soldier crabs on our bucket, they paint them up, and had people bet on the pink, the yellow, the red, whatever color, and when you take off the bucket, whichever crab reached the ring first win $1 EC. Also, people used to sell a cup of rainwater to raise funds for athletics. So I just gave you a little bit of historical perspective of the way it used to be, a little bit of the way it used to be in the early years. You had to use all sorts of creative ways and means because there was absolutely no money, but everybody wanted to run. So to start my presentation, I will speak on 3 main things. We know the broad topic is development of athletics in Anguilla. I would look at a historical perspective, what the situation is now, and how I perceive we can develop the future for our success. Many people hear the word athletics. It's also known as track and field, and I would use track and field as my language for most of the speech. In Anguilla, we call it Sports Day. And there's a reason why we call it Sports Day. Many of the persons who perform at these meets, they're not properly prepared. They come to have fun. You understand? They come just to run on Sports Day to entertain the crowd, give their house, give their schools points. So we have some persons who come, and especially for the high school sports, some never run an errand in their life. They never jump to a conclusion, and they never throw a tantrum, but they still become athletes. Do you consider them as athletes? You have to follow a sustained training program to be classified as an athlete. Earlier, one of the presenters talked about the character games, A person just can't jump up on stage and run a good race. You have to have a good preparation. And that's one of the aspects we lack in here, especially at the secondary level. I want to kind of define the term track and field, because track and field carries many disciplines. Sometimes we confuse the word discipline and event. We'll say, why events are doing the 100 meters, the long jump, whatever. In the real track and field jargon, we call them disciplines. So in the sprints, we have like the 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, the 110 hurdles, and the 400-meter hurdles. Then we have the middle distance races, which will be the 800 meters, 1,500 meters, 3,000, and 5,000. Then we have the long distance race on the track, which is 10,000 meters. Anybody know how much times around the track is 10,000 meters? Quick math. A track is 400 meters, and you want to get 10,000 meters. Okay, we have an answer. 2.5. Who? 24, come again, get close. 25 laps. So imagine in the real world of athletics, we have persons going round and around and around for 25 times. And some of them do it like in about 27, 28 minutes. So you're running each lap in just about 1 minute. So that's the events in track and field. Those are on the track. Then we have the field events, which are like high jump, long jump, triple jump, and pole vault. I would be very scared to introduce pole vault in Anguilla because it calls a lot of good skill. You plant your pole, and you go way in the air, and then you land on a safe bag. But the difficulty is when you get up there, you have to come down the correct way because you can easily come down on your neck. So pole vault, we have to approach it with caution. Then we have the jumps, long jump, high jump. Oh, sorry, that's what I say now. We go to the throws. We have shot put, discus, javelin, and hammer. So we have all these here in the most of them take place at the high school competitions. We also have the heptathlon, which is a combination of 7 events, and a decathlon, which is 10 events. So for those events, the combined events take place over a 2-day period. So these are athletes who would have achieved very good marks across several disciplines in the sport, and their coaches will determine you may not be the most outstanding in one event, but when you combine them all, you can be a world champion. The other event that often takes place in the world of track and field is the full marathon and the half marathon. So the marathon is usually around 26 miles, and the half marathon will be 13. Earlier, Mr. Winston mentioned that I would have participated in a race in Aruba in 1983. The race was 30K, which equals 18 miles. Anybody here know how long Anguilla is? Come again. How long is Anguilla? Don't show, put up your hand. I heard 35. 35 what? 16 miles long. So when we ran that race in Aruba, I would have started above Windward Point, out in the sea, and run way down to western of the island to get 18 miles. So in those days, I was a bit crazy, so I decided, hey, to run all that distance, you can't be normal. So I decided to stop it. Anyway, we have, because, in these hot countries, it's not easy to push your body continuously for that period of time. So we have seen a range of sports being introduced in Anguilla over the many years. Many of these presenters speak about the popularity of their sport, but track and field is known as the mother of all sports. The reason being that in almost every sport, there's some form of track and field being displayed. we have a program called the Run, Jump, Throw program, which means if you're doing cricket, you're running in, you jump, and you bowl. You're doing basketball, you jump and you shoot your basket, you do your layups. And what else again? Football, if you can't run, stay off the field. So every sport starts with the athletes being properly prepared, and then they branch off to the other areas. Volleyball, you want to spike a ball, you must be able to get up there, all right? So blocking. So the Run, Jump, Throw program is the program that prepares the performers for all the other sports to follow. Now, in terms of the historical prospect of sports in Anguilla, of athletics in Anguilla, the Valley Secondary School, which was the one and only high school in Anguilla, opened in 1953. We have no known information of track and field competitions before that, not even at the primary schools. So with a principal from, I think, maybe Guyana at that time, they introduced the sports there at high school. Now, everybody liked to be competitive. You know, human being made to move. So you see the little ones at a preschool, they're anxious to run, and all the parents come out to support them. When you get to primary school, you can't get enough races for primary schools to participate. So it was in high school in the early days. I've seen children cry when they couldn't get to race because they're stamping their foot, they're begging, I want to run, but they are better than them. So in the early days at the Valley Secondary School, when Sports Day started in 1954, 55, thereabout, we had mainly the track events and long jump and high jump, but there was also bicycle race around the track because there was not many cars in Anguilla in those years. So almost everyone from the out districts rode a bike to school. So to give them an opportunity to show off them skills, they would have bicycle race around the athletic track. And imagine the track at one point in time was the cricket boundary. They took a heavy machine, a bulldozer or a caterpillar or something, and they just route a circle around the cricket pitch for the cricket boundary, and that's what we use as the track for athletics. So if you run 200 meters, you run from one side to the other side, and you call it 200 meters. If you're running 800 meters, you run on that twice. In the early days, it was 120 yards, 880 yards for 800, 440, those sort of figures. But nonetheless, we had a very enthusiastic sports day at the Valley Secondary School. Imagine in the early days, Anguilla almost shut down on sports day. Shops were closed. If you work in construction, wherever you work in, you leave your job, you go into the park because everybody had a family member or friend competing on that day. And you come now to see them and to support them. So we had a very enthusiastic sports competition at the high school, I would say up on all the way through to the 70s and the 80s maybe. In those days, we never heard of coaches. I never knew the word coach until I maybe went to Jamaica in the 1980s. We want to do well, we get up and train. No one never knock on my door and tell me, Rollins, a race comes up in St. Thomas, you have to train. I would order a Runner's World magazine from the US. It cost 20 US at the time for annual subscription, and I would read it off in one night to pick up bits and pieces how best to prepare myself for major competitions. So when I was preparing for the Aruba race, I would run at least 50 to 60 miles in a week in training. That means from South Hill, Mango Garden, back into South Hill, down to Malahana, and back up. So if you really want to do well in your sports, you have to devise a way how to present yourself the best possible way. Imagine at the high school, they all wanted to compete. There was no medals, nobody knew as medals or trophies in those days. The main prizes, you go around to supermarkets, the Galaxy store, Albert Lake, Proctor's, and you would beg for items. They gave you ribbons for the girls, hair clips. Anybody know what a bandeau? A bandeau to put over your head. And you get, some of you get a pair of socks, we got a clothes brush, we got a shoe brush, we got shoe polish. Simple items we got as prizes on Sports Day. But you know what? We cherish those prizes because what we really wanted was bragging rights. Who could beat this other person on Sports Day? So we have come a long way since the 70s. We also had in those days, we had what we call the Anguilla Day sports competition, Anguilla Day track and field competition. And we would have the different communities, Eastern team, Valley East, Valley West, and the road team, which comprised of South Hill, Blowing Point, North Hill, Sandy Ground. And then you had a small group from West End. But on that day at the park was literally filled with everybody. If you wasn't at the park that day, then you was nowhere. In fact, the only person that couldn't come to the park was a guy called Jimmy Fingers in Joe Jack. Joe Jack couldn't walk, so he couldn't come to the park. You understand? And Jimmy Fingers, they would see Jimmy Fingers so often, he stopped coming out because he had no fingers. And I would say, Jimmy Fingers, you want $1? And we put out a hand, he couldn't take it. So he stopped coming out. But literally, at the park on Anguilla Day, everybody was there. So the inside of the grounds, full with people, and the outside. And the police had to be consistently pushing back people off the track because heads are sticking out just to see your athletes coming through. It was really a day of high activity. And you know something? They had about maybe 3 vendors at the park. Evelyn from South Valley, Constance from the Quarter, and a little lady from North Side. Peppermint, sugar cake, chiclets, red sweets, and sweet cake, and maybe Jogum's sodas. But remember, no ice, because we had no electricity. You couldn't make no ice, you couldn't get drinks cold, so you take it how you get it. So in those days, it was pure fun and action. When we thirsty, we go to the government standpipe, and we drink our belly full of water, and we're back on the track again. So the glory days that you have today, please don't let them waste. You know, in fact, the Anguilla Day will have a half marathon in the morning. Start outside the Webster Park, we go around Island Harbor and back to the Webster Park. If we invite athletes from overseas, we took them down from beyond, we go down to Sandy Ground, where the park, and run back up there, and then we finished at the park. And at every junction, persons were out to cheer on. And to give you a little story on myself, as Winston pushed me to do, in one of my last races, I fainted at the end of the line, but nobody knew because I had to shake it out. So what happened, we run the race around Island Harbor, and the St. Martin athlete always used to beat me. And he went the wrong way. He went over towards the police station to come that road down, and a guy rode a bicycle to tell me he gone the wrong way, come, let's go, come, let's go. And I tried to sprint from Proctor's down to the ending here just outside the health polyclinic. And when I see him bang the corner, and I lift up, try to go. And when he crossed the line, I just went to the fence, and my eyes started to scatter. I see stars. The stars and the moon mix together. But I say, not today. I just shake it up and I get back up and put up my hands. But nobody knew I fainted, eh? Can't faint, no man. I was the ultimate champion that time, but can't faint. Can't faint, yeah. So those days of glory athletics in Anguilla, we had everybody coming out to cheer on who they see as their ultimate champion. And a road race probably had up to 40, 50 persons competing. In high school sports day, there was road race only for boys. The girls did not have a race. And I believe the reason for that was somewhat for safety reasons. The race would start, you see the 2 tamarind trees on the western side of the park. The race started there, we went across till we get to the dirt road going down between the agricultural grounds, and we come over to the Anguillian, a road over where Valley School, above Valley School, till we get over where the Schrammer place. And we cut across, the airport didn't extend that far, so we cut across that way till we get to long ground, and you come up to the long ground, up to the forest. We met out there with the big students, we call it John John, and then we made our way down. But there was nobody leading the race. There was no police involved. There were no leaders in the race. So you couldn't take a chance send the girls out there by themselves because some of them may never reach back or reach back in a timely manner. You understand? So the reality is they did it only for boys. So to check the veracity of the race, the athletes, you had a number of persons, you call them spotters. And everybody had a number. You make your numbers, and you'd have, as you pass, people keep recording numbers quickly. If you come back to the finish line and nobody had your number, sorry for you, you can get no place. So it was very difficult, and you get up to the first 10 places points. So in my last race in high school, my first and only distance race, I come exactly 10th place, and I got 1 point for Sea House. But it was very worthwhile because there were others behind me who, come up lower than 10th place and got no points absolutely. So imagine running all around those days and didn't get a point. So the house system, up until the change of the school name, it would have been A house, known as Red House. We had Blue House, known as B House, and C House was Green House. So it was everybody would cheering on the house. When you had high jump, you would see the persons, they gather around the high jumpers, and then they form a trail behind the person coming up to go with the rod. So when you see Red House coming through, you see all the Red House coming, you say, A House, B House, and you'd have a big celebration. And the high jump, we jumped in sand, so you had the same pit for high jump, while the same pit they used for long jump. And most persons would jump either the scissors or what we call the Western roll. Now we have people who can do the Fosbury flop because I have safe sponge to land on. In those early days, when there was hardly any money in Anguilla, students had to pay $3 EC to get their sandwich and their cake and their soda on sports day. But if you are an athlete, you can't eat nothing that day, only drinking water. So they would cover up your sandwich and cake in a tray till another day. And when you come to school now, all the athletes can go to eat. So whether you had beef sandwich with fine ants, or you had cheese sandwich that spoiled, you're glad to get a sandwich because there was nothing more. You come to school for that. I remember one time we had, after sports day, we had a picnic down where Catch Lucas located now. And there was always this big tug-of-war cake. So the tug-of-war was a big feature because it was real big boys going to school, big and strong guys. So they had a tug-of-war. A house won the tug-of-war. And they put the cake in a car and had a fella mining this cake. So they parked the car right up beside the grape trees. And this fella, by the stand up. And they sent a girl to talk to the fella. And he talking and, flouncing himself. Somebody crawled through the trees, opened the door and take out the cake. And them share it for them house. So you can imagine you on your hands and knees to the grape trees, get a door open, take out a big cake, and you got to crawl back now on your elbows with this cake, and you go in the other direction. When time comes for celebration, they want to know how this cake missing, and a man was there all the time. But you know how it is. Remember the story of Samson and Delilah, same thing happened there. So we must always, these are historical points that happened in days gone by, just to give you an idea how the way it used to be. Now, as time went by, we evolved into more competitive possibilities. Anguilla joined the then IAAF, which was then known as the International Amateur Athletic Federation. We joined in 1978, and we had Mr. Paul Chairperson. He is from St. Kitts, but he had Anguillan family, and he was responsible for getting Anguilla into the World Athletics stage. We also had Mr. Colin Baino, who was responsible to organize many of the sports in Anguilla, the football at the time, the cricket, and the athletics. So those persons organized the sports for Anguilla. And so when we joined the World Athletics, the president at the time, anybody know John Gomes from East End, Pastor John? He quickly became the president after that. Then we had Ken Banks president for many years, and he was followed by Lana Rogers. So in the years that Anguilla became part of the World Athletics, we only had 3 athletic presidents so far. Well, we have 4 now with the latest Mr. Karim Haj. So we had over a span of maybe, almost 40 years? I do the maths. So in more than 40 years, yeah. We only had 4 athletic presidents. So we just need for work. As a member of the World Athletics, Anguilla was invited to the first World Championships in Helsinki in 1983. And the representative there was Ras Bucket, everybody know Ras Bucket, and Ione Smith. She also was a female, and I went along as the coach. Now, imagine I would have been 22 years at that time, and that's probably was my first time on an airplane, not going St. Kitts or Antigua, but going all the way across the world to Europe. And I could give you a little interesting story. We not understand the whole situation. When we left Helsinki, say, on the Monday morning early, we thought we'd getting home Tuesday. But when we got to Puerto Rico, we couldn't go any further, and all I had was $3. And we had to overnight in Puerto Rico, and we leave in Puerto Rico the next afternoon. So we got in there, say, Tuesday afternoon around 5 o'clock, and then we spent the night there in Puerto Rico at the airport, and the next day we leave in Puerto Rico 5 o'clock to come to St. Martin. So when we get to St. Martin, we didn't have money to get to Anguilla. But in Puerto Rico, we there all night, and someone tell us we can go to an office called Ayuda Be a Hero. What I mean, Mr. Johnson? Ayuda Be a Hero. That was help for the traveler. So we gone to get our help, and I fill out all sorts of forms. What job your mother do? What job your father do? They gave us each $1, $1. So we just went, put in the machine, and we buy a chocolate. We bought a chocolate, and we drank water from the fountain, because that's what we could do. So the next day we got to St. Martin. We find people to stay by the night, and come to Anguilla. We met the Anguillan pilot, Leslie Lloyd. We told him our plight, and he brought us to Anguilla the next morning. We got home safely. And up and now, I don't know if he got paid or didn't get paid, but we're back here. We home. So as I say, that's kind of the historical perspective of how athletics was in Anguilla in the early days. And I must say, we have seen, we believed at that time, we had great potential to go very far, but the opportunities were very, very limited. As I explained earlier, the things people do to raise funds, maybe you may get out 20, 25 EC dollars when you go there at a venture. So it wasn't nothing. You can go to Martin with that. As time went by, being a member of the World Athletics, after we went to the first World Champs, we developed a number of relations and partnerships. And Anguillan athletes now are able to compete on the world stage at the senior and junior level. In fact, this year in, I believe, September, one athlete should be able to travel to Tokyo in Japan for the World Championships. And that is done whether you're qualified or not. The World Athletics allow each country to send at least one athlete, whether qualified or unqualified. So imagine you're here in Anguilla today, you decide to work hard and train hard, and maybe next few few years, you can be that person going far across the world. So at the junior level, we have seen our athletes also performed very well. We know we had, we have seen at one point in time, there was also the World Youth Championships. When Zarnell Hughes was a junior, he was ranked as #1 in the world at some point in time in the 200. So imagine, as Winston said, from a small little island, you'll be ranked #1. He had the fastest time in the world at one point in time. And also Shara Proctor, in the long jump, she was world ranked #2 as a youth coming from Anguilla. So there was always hope and great possibilities. So for our athletes, they can also attend the NACAC, which is North America, Central America, and the Caribbean, where we have competitions in the seniors, the under-23, under-19, and then in the combined events, we have like the under-13 and the under-15 competitions. Then we have the Carifta Games, which I hope you would have been watching the recent Carifta game that took place in Trinidad and Tobago, of which Anguilla was also represented. Now, at the Carifta level, we have seen various degrees of success, but what I can recall, the first Carifta medal for Anguilla was won by the Proctor sisters, Shara and Chanel. Many people would know of Shara, but not of Chanel, but Chanel also won medals at Carifta in high jump. The next Carifta medal was Zarnell Hughes when he won the 100 meters, and Winston will correct me, but I think he would have won that around 2013, and he ran like 10.13 or 10.14, that kind of performance. So there was outstanding possibilities. Also, next year will be the Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth Games is a multi-sport competition, something like Olympics, whereby all the countries that were once under Britain can attend the Commonwealth Games. This year, the Games will be held in Scotland. Before time, we have had Commonwealth Games in Malaysia. We went to Australia on 2 occasions, and then we have been to Scotland and India. Then you have the Pan Am Juniors, another sport, track and field activity that Anguillians can participate in. So there's quite a spread of events that if everyone should work hard, they can all get an opportunity to represent Anguilla at the world stage or the regional stage. We also have many invitational meets. We go to Nevis for the Culturama Games. Sometimes there are game meets in Antigua, meets in Tortola, and also invitation between Anguilla and St. Martin. So we see this as an opportunity for athletes to express their performances. As a benefit from the World Athletics, we have seen several coaches being trained in level 1 and beyond. Also, we do level 1 coaching, we do officiating courses, so we had many persons do the officials courses, the starters courses, and so. We also have seen many of our athletes, as Vincent mentioned, gaining scholarships to U.S. colleges. And we have contact with many U.S. coaches that are ready and waiting, just like Volleyball mentioned earlier, coaches do call. And I remember in the probably late 90s, early 2000s, when Desiree Cox was on scholarship, and the coach called me and asked if we have any more athletes. And I searched up and down the roster, and I couldn't find one to please him. And to know how strict coaching is in the U.S., when the Desiree coach, got a job offer at another university, he called me to ask permission to move Desiree with him because he wanted Desiree badly. So you just can't take up an athlete who have an agreement with one school and take them up in Gonzo. So he was able to say her coach in Anguilla gave him permission to authorize him to make the transfer. So gaining a scholarship in the U.S. as someone mentioned, we can get a free and near-free education is a great, great opportunity. And it doesn't take very much. I'll go to the pathway a little later. So we have had persons like Richelle Meade. I remember Richelle saying that at some point I would have spoken to athletes and I mentioned about possibly for scholarship. And in my opinion, Richelle wasn't the greatest performer, but she had great ambition. And she trained consistently, primary school, high school. And when Richelle went to the US, she won high jump and long jump competitions. And today, Richelle did her first degree and went on to her master's, and she automatically gets employment in the US. Same way with Artisha. Artisha did her first degree at North Texas. She went on to a master's, and now she got a job in the US. So because those of you in Anguilla who are ambitious and have good attitude, you can go very far. There's no room to be rude. You understand? I'll come to that later. So we see I would say one of the main goals of anybody here should be trying to say, let me see if I can get a scholarship. They talk about volleyball scholarship, football scholarship, athletic scholarship, tennis scholarships. There are scholarships all across the globe. It's up to you to take it. The academic scholarships, there are very few. They're mainly for the highest achievers at CXC. But the sporting scholarships, if all of you put in the effort in your studies and in your athletic development, every single one of you can get a scholarship. I remember speaking to a Jamaican coach a few years ago. He said his squad, he got 26 scholarships from one school in Jamaica in 1 year. And because he knew his program would sink low, he moved to another school where he can, keep himself being a good coach and get good results. So there's a lot of scholarships across the US. And what we call it as the entry point for athletics in Anguilla is at 5 or 6 years of age. That's because at the primary school level, there's organized competitions for the little ones. So you will see that in the primary schools, we have various age categories, which mean you have a progressive graduating scale till you get to the top of your performance at the primary school. What is sad and disappointing, and I would like you to explain to me later, why at the secondary school level we have such a great attrition rate. Persons feel they're in high school now and I ain't running no more. I either play football, like I ain't running. If you're playing football and the better you can run, the better football you'll play. Anybody know Michael Holden was a 400-meter runner for Jamaica. When he switched to cricket and became one of the world's best bowlers. Curtly Ambrose from Antigua, he was a basketball player. So a number of persons try their hand at different sports, and participation in sports support excellence in others. So don't give up, keep trying hard. So we have seen where we had athletes at the Carifta level getting medals. We haven't had athletes representing Anguilla get medals at the World Champs. But do you know we had several athletes who represented Great Britain and gained medals either at Commonwealth Games or World Champs or Olympics. The first Olympian for Anguilla was a guy called Keith Connor. He's from South Hill. And Keith Connor would have represented England, I think, way back in 1978 at the Commonwealth Games. Then he went on to represent England in the Olympics. He gained gold medal in triple jump and bronze medal at Commonwealth. In recent times, we had Zarnell Hughes in 2023. He had the fastest time in the world at one point in time. He ran 9.83. He went on to get a bronze medal for England at the World Champs in Budapest. We also had Shara Proctor. She still have the British long jump record, and she jumped 7.07 meters in China and got a silver medal for England. 7.7 meters is probably about 24 feet. So imagine you getting up from here and you're landing by that pole over yonder. Whether you're running, you're flying, or you're sailing through the air, you get there. But all this comes through honing your skills in a proper manner. So there's lots of inspirational talent come out of Anguilla that you can follow suit and decide you want that for yourselves. One of the disappointing factors, England has seen 3 homegrown athletes. Keith Connor was born here, and we have seen other athletes who have Anguillan parentage. Mark Richardson, who is Perry's first cousin. Marcia Richardson, who is Curtis Richardson's first cousin, represent England well at Worlds and Olympics. And England never see it fit to even have a discussion with Anguilla about how they can contribute or how they can help sports in Anguilla. I myself have spoken to the head of British Olympics a couple years ago, and he said, wow, we don't think of the territories because they feel their plate is so full, but we plan to hone the skills of you all so we can load their plate up some more. As time comes, we will force them to recognize Anguilla, because one of the greatest drawbacks for us is the lack of a proper track here in Anguilla. Anguilla, for the last 50, 60 years, we've been trying to run at the Webster Park, hills, bumps, hollows, and whatever else. And government after government will say they will construct our track for Anguillan athletes. And let's hope in the next 5 years, hopefully next 3, but at least give them 5 years, we can see a track placed somewhere in Anguilla. Now, in terms of development of anything cannot be left to chance. And I always say athletics is synonymous with academics. Academics develop the head power. Athletics develop the leg power. Do you agree? If you go out there and you run and you train, do things every day, you will get so strong you'll wonder if this really you. But so if you study regular, you will get very intellectual also. But to get a well-rounded individual, you need to combine the development of yourself. And to do that, we need to establish a structured pathway for development. And to get this achieved, all stakeholders should be on board. Means Minister of Education and Sport, Education Department, Sports Department, coaches, parents, athletes. We have a situation which I'm very grieved about for many years. High school sports and primary school sports, they give the school kids a half day. I'm pushing to get that change next time around, because why go to school in the morning? Come home 12 o'clock and try to get to the park at 1 o'clock. Give the whole day and done. It's one small island. So we also need to ensure that funds raised at the sports days, a portion of those funds are put aside for the athletes. We have seen where in the early days, high school sports, they ask for a contribution by the gate. So who put way in, put go in same way. Then we ask for $5. They start to get a little, maybe at the end of sports day, $300, $700 and so. When we introduced cheerleading, it went from hundreds to thousands, $8,000, $7,000, $9,000, because with $10 at the gate, which was a struggle to agree for $10 to come in for high school sports, they start to rake in the money. Everybody want to see action. The intention was to have sports over a 2-day period. So you pay to see all the houses cheerlead on day one, and then you have a number of events also. Then you'll have maybe the best house cheerleader on second day, and the other events. So instead of collecting $10 on one day, collect it on 2 days. Similarly, we can do the same thing for primary school, because people love action. They love celebration. Those of you who were in Island Harbor over the weekend, the people couldn't hold the cars because it's a festival. Every event is a festival where persons like to go out and see the action. So it's not too much to ask for a $20 EC to see 6 hours of continued action where your family and friends performing before your very eyes. I think so. We'll be looking at raising funds to send the athletes higher, further, and get them faster. The last thing, maybe not the last thing, but what I'll say here is that there's a need for a lot more engagement. The governing body, not only at this, but for almost sports, the governing body need to engage more with the coaches and senior athletes. Because if you realize that what they are planning is for the athletes, and these functions are to be administered or carried out by the coaches, they need to know or to be part of the planning process. The education department need to make time whereby, especially the young ones, can have more physical activity. Imagine a little child, 4, 5, 6 years, 1 day of physical activity. They sit in a classroom Monday to Friday for maybe 5, 6 hours. Human beings are made to move, so you should provide opportunity for physical activity on a regular basis. Also, what I want to say is that among the coaches need to put aside personal differences and see where you're working for the athletes and not for our own self-aggrandizement. So if the coaches, you notice I didn't mention who was the coaches of Zarnell or Shara. I mentioned the athletes. So if the coaches see us as preparing athletes to represent Anguilla, you would focus on how we can cooperate and coordinate, and we put a committed effort. I believe we'll get a lot better results from athletes going forward, because no one of us as coaches know it all. But with combined efforts, we can feed off each other, we can support each other in the preparation of athletes. Almost every coach have their views how they can bring an athlete to fruition, to success. Sometimes we do too much too early. You know the phrase, ripe fast, rot fast? So we see glowing performance at a primary school. I believe many athletes get burned out at the primary school level, so we need to manage the development of the athletes a little more careful. I feel a bit guilty because they gave me 30 minutes to pack in what I've been involved with for over 30 years. So I have to get another opportunity to go further and deeper. So I know Mr. Colin Johnson is waiting to, I hope you don't attack me again, but I would stop here for now and invite Mr. Duncan back on stage. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson, with such a comprehensive overview of sports in Anguilla. In fact, it was so comprehensive, I don't think I need to bring up some of the missed points. There was one correction. Zarnell would have won his first medal, a bronze medal at Carifta in Bermuda, 2012. At the same time, I think the Honorable Deanne Rogers, she would have won bronze medal in the heptathlon in Bermuda as well. So without further ado, we have Mr. Colin Johnson, who is the President Technical Director of the Anguilla Football Association. He has recently completed a English FAB license. He has been the coach of almost every single age group team, senior, senior both male and female teams of the Anguillan Football Association. He's been responsible for the CONCACAF grassroots, and he has been responsible for getting a CONCACAF D-license program here in Anguilla. So, Mr. Johnson, a motivator for Yellow House and all the other houses. He is also a passionate educator. He's very fluent in Spanish, and hopefully one day he will decide to teach the coaches some Spanish. And he's a true community leader. Without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Colin Johnson.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
Good afternoon. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I have to shorten this. The good thing is that I have a lot of the stuff on PowerPoint, so I don't have to take no more than 15 minutes, between 10 to 15 minutes. So just want to say thank you for having me here. And I would also like to say from the start too that, Mr. Valens, I remember those fights, but I don't remember winning, you know. I remember the fights. Also, I got my first start in sports in Anguilla in athletics. I remember coaching Stony Gong School, and then I did my first license. I was sent to Tatola. But then my really first big trip was going to Spain to the World Championship, me and one other athlete. And on the first day we got eliminated, but we got a chance to not just train in Germany, but also go to the World Championship in Spain and spend 2 weeks partying. So let's talk football. First of all, let me see the hands of all the persons who ever played football in their life. Wow. If you have never played football, Tim, you put up your hand? Okay. There is no boxing in football. You have the bag sport. You're thinking of boxing. Can anybody tell me who's the best football in the world? Huh? Somebody say Ronaldo. Agree? Me. Any female? You know of any female footballer? Who? Can't hear. So the ladies have to do a little bit more in terms of promoting themselves, because we know a lot about the senior men footballers, but we don't know a lot about the women. But then, I have another question for you. In Anguilla, who won the last senior men's championship? Somebody said the Roaring Lions, correct. Who is the top women's team in Anguilla right now? I heard Superstars. And who won the last primary school football competition? I can't hear. Notice I didn't say male or female because they won both. OKPS. So at least it's important for you to know a little about your sport that you're playing. I need to take this out because I can't see from so far. Let's talk a little about the history of football in Anguilla. You need to know something about football. The Anguilla Football Association was officially founded in January 1990. It does not mean that football started to play in 1990, you know. What it means is that is when it was officially organized. And then we became a member of CONCACAF in 1994. So you ask, what's CONCACAF? First of all, we have a body that we are affiliated to, that is the CFU, that's the Caribbean Islands. Then we are also affiliated to CONCACAF, which is Central America, Mexico, Canada, and the Caribbean. So when we have to play competition for CONCACAF, we have to play against Mexico and all those big countries in Central America. And then in 1996, we became an official member of FIFA. FIFA is the world's governing body in football. In other words, we answer to FIFA. They send down the rules. We work with FIFA. And so it's important that we become a member. There are 211 members in FIFA. And luckily, Anguilla is one. Now, one of the biggest things that we are always hit with is that people will tell you, and they will try to hurt you with this, that of the 211 members, Anguilla is 2009 in the ranking. They say that every time to make you feel bad. And I say, but you ain't beating me though. You are ranked 100 and whatever, but you're not beating me. Because we're talking about development. And a lot of times when people talk about development, they talk about win and lose. And that is far from development. Because there are some persons or some clubs, some groups that win every single competition, but there's no development taking place. Meaning that there's no structure and people are not learning. And we give an example right in Anguilla. There are some teams at the top of the tournament win every competition, but they've done nothing at all to develop football in Anguilla. Not even one youth. And then there are some clubs they can't win grass, but they're developing. Because one of the things that we do in Anguilla, in order to be at the top, we leave the bottom and go to the top. Or we win. We win. So the only how you could win is to go to the top team. The real development takes place at the teams at the bottom who takes people that can't play, whether it be athletics, football, netball, and help that team to move from number 10 to number 9. That's development. Okay? We could move to the next slide, please. Now, it's important, anytime you're part of an organization, to understand the mission and the vision. In other words, why are these people doing this sport? Our mission is we want to contribute to the national pride. See what we started with? National pride. So whenever you're playing football or doing athletics or volleyball for your country, the most important thing is that that flag means everything to you. Because when you see that flag being raised, you know that you're representing all the people in your country. I said this yesterday, and I always say it whenever I meet a group. The last time, I am 60 years old, and the last time I cried was at a World Championship. As a matter of fact, it was a World Cup finals, China and America, in China. And the national song for America was playing, and the tears just keep running down my eyes. And it had nothing at all to do with the song. It was a feeling. Thousands of people, maybe millions of people in the stadium, never happened before in my life. When I look around and everybody was silent, and this one song was being played. And the only thing I was thinking about is if you could get some of these Anguillans to experience this. Because it's a special occasion. It's nothing like you'll ever feel in your life. Your hair will stand on your head because the whole world is standing still and paying attention to one country. That's what you must feel when you play for your country. Also, we talk about healthy society. In other words, when you play sports, you're supposed to be healthy. And it gives you opportunity for careers. That is football and any other sport. And I want to make this very clear from the start, people, that one of the biggest criticisms that football is being hit with is that we try to grab all the people. We try to take all the attention. I don't see football as a threat to any other sport. I see football as a partner. I felt so much great pride when I saw the footballers coming in at the front of the race, because I felt that football made a contribution to athletics. And a lot of times, Mr. Wallen said it, that athletics is the mother of all sports, because with all the training that you're doing in running and jumping, that's the same techniques and skills that you need in all sports, including football. So rather than see each other as an enemy, we should see others as partners. For example, if we're doing something, we can pull along the other associations to be able to benefit. Because when one of our footballers benefit, I don't see them as footballers, I see them as Anguillians. I know for sure that we had, at one time, Shara Proctor and the former Minister of Sports, Deanne Kentish Rogers. They were playing football. As a matter of fact, Miss Kentish Rogers, she was the captain of the under-20 team. And then she came to me and said, Mr. Johnson, I have to go now. I said, I know. It's time for me to transfer into athletics, which is my first love. But I was happy in the time that I had her for her to make contribution to Anguilla and at the same time helping her development so that she could go on to do the best that she could do in athletics. Then we look at the vision. Anguilla leads CONCACAF in integrated football into society. And when we say Anguilla lead, a lot of time people think of leading as being in front in the race. In other words, if you're 209 out of 211, how can you lead? Yes, we lead in youth development. We lead in behavior. We lead in professional development. There's so many things that you could lead in. And leading means taking the first step. Not necessarily mean winning. So a lot of times people get this big confusion about what is development and what is leadership. Good. So when you play football, these are the things that we look for all the time. Efficiency. That means you can be dependent on, you're dedicated to what you do, you have passion, you're responsible, and above all, you respect each other. And that for me is key. The very last time I got really angry with my daughter was she had a goal to score. And instead of just kicking the ball in the goal, she went down on her knees and hit it in. And I went mad on air. I went mad after the game, and I went mad at home. Because there's no place in the game for disrespect. You cannot disrespect the opponents. You cannot disrespect your players. And I will never condone, regardless of the situation, you being disrespectful to the officials. That's unacceptable, because those are our core values. And you can't expect to have core values and then have the people that you're developing disrespect in that way. Next. So these are some of the things that we develop. And I have competition, but it's not just competition. We start at the grassroots level, which is between 6 to 12. We have a lot of festivals, and we also have competitions for them. Then one of our biggest competition every year is the primary school competition. We partner with the school and the bank to make sure that our children get a chance to play football. Then we also have the inter-house football that we contribute heavily to, and the under 15 and under 14. What we do, every year, CFU has an under 14 competition and an under 15 for CONCACAF. So what we do, we alternate our competition. So if this year we have a U14 Caribbean competition, we have a U14 for that particular group, whether it's boys or girls, and then the next year U15. So if the boys are playing U14 this year, the girls are playing U15, and vice versa. So by doing that, when we go into these regional competition, we are ready because we have our own competition. The idea, though, within the next 2 years, is that we want to have a regular under 14 competition and under 17 competition, and do that every year for both male and female. Right now, we don't have the numbers, so we're developing the numbers. And then, of course, we have opportunity for our male and female to go into our senior league, male and female. But I want to spend some time on youth development and TDS, because the key to football, I believe that we need to build from the bottom up. So what we're doing, we make sure that we provide quality training at the bottom for the youngsters, and then they have an opportunity to progress to be in the national team and professional. You see the word TDS there? That means Talent Development Scheme. What happens is that our body, and this is where we get into trouble, because FIFA not just say to us, play football. They say to us, we're going to give you a lot of stuff so that you can develop football. We want you to get as many persons playing football, that's one. We want you to get as many persons playing football at the highest quality. And we also are going to provide money and expertise. So if you say you have 500 people, we are going to give you the material to develop those 500 people. So what they've done, they have sent to us what we call a talent development coach. And talent development means high performance, meaning that we're not just looking for grassroots players. We're looking for the top players, and we're going to make them into professionals. And so therefore, you will see what happens. They go around and they scout in the youth leagues, and they find the best possible footballers, and they isolate them and give them specialized training. So within 2 to 3 years, 4 years, those players will not just be ready for your national team, but they'll be ready to go off and get scholarships and even play professional football abroad. That is key. What FIFA does though, FIFA say, I could give you $10,000 if you have a program, but I will give you $11,000 if you develop. And for every football game that you play, we give you more money. And every player that you develop, we give you more money. So sometimes you hear people saying, well, we're playing too much football. The more football you play, the more money they give us to develop you. The more matches, the more competition we're playing, the more money they give Anguilla to develop. The biggest problem that we have, if somebody gives you money, you feel that is enough. If I give you $200, I want you to use that $200 to make $200,000. But because you're given $200, you're going to be satisfied and do nothing at all except use the $200. Make that $200 work for you. So one of the biggest problems we are faced with is that if you go to the government, if you go to any other organization, the first thing they will tell you, I ain't helping football because football have money. And if we do give $500,000 to a club, they're not doing anything to actually improve themselves. Let's talk about the fundraising activities, the things that we used to do to raise funds before. One of the things that we used to do is just simply pick up garbage after every tournament, every competition. There was one time when we were given an offer to go to America with our under-15 team, and we didn't have a single cent. And we had to raise $35,000. And they said, no way. And I said, no, we're going to raise the money. And within 3 months, we raised $50,000 and were able to take at least 25 of our girls to America and participate in one of America's under-15 tournament where you have over 1 million people participating. So you can look out for yourself by not just raising funds. And I want to spend a little bit more time on sponsorship. It's very easy to get people to sponsor young people because in Anguilla, in particular, people like to see young people develop. But then you also have a responsibility. That is, when somebody invests a lot of money in you, you now have to go back to the core values and show them that you have pride, you have respect, and you're working hard. What burns me a lot of time is that not just in football, you see it in athletics, you see it in whatever sport. They are being sponsored. They are late for the game. They are fighting during the game. They are cussing during the game. And their sponsors are sitting and watching. Whenever you have those type of responsibilities, you have to make sure that those type of behaviors are not exhibited because nobody will want to sponsor or put their name against something like that. It is so important that you understand that if you're having a netball or volleyball competition and you are wearing something that says the name of the sponsor, you have to represent with pride and dignity, regardless to the results, because they want to associate with people that show positive values. Next. So we also participate in all under-14 and under-15 CFU competition, CONCACAF under-17, under-20 boys and girls, senior men and women, which include World Cup qualifiers. Yes? We feel that coach education is the key, because if you have qualified coaches, you will have qualified players. So we make opportunity to have our coaches develop. As a matter of fact, we talk about Anguilla Leeds. Right now, Anguilla is one of the few Caribbean islands that is a part of the CONCACAF convention. And of all the Caribbean islands, Anguilla was number 3 to get convention status. We have a head coach who is responsible for making sure the coaches are trained, and of course, 2 coach educators, and we're developing more. We deliver CONCACAF D license, C license, and we're about to deliver B license. Very soon, CONCACAF is telling us that if you don't have certain license, you cannot coach. You can coach, but you can't come on the bench. So very soon, you'll find that your coaches will all have to be qualified to be able to coach on the benches in Anguilla and be international coaches. Also, through coaching education, we help to develop coaches that could coach in any other Caribbean island or CONCACAF representative. For example, when you say you're part of the coaching convention, it means that once you have a coaching license for CONCACAF, you can coach in any Central America country, America, Canada, or any Caribbean island, because your license would be valid in those countries. Yes, move on. So, coach education must also come with development of other stakeholders. The biggest complaint I get every year, before, during, and after every competition, the carry, is about referees. And they always say that they want young referees. And so one of the things that we try to do, every time we're going to have a youth competition every year, we develop young referees. That means we recruit, and of course, the young referees come out of the school. I will always call the PE teachers and say, we are putting on a course, and we want the young referees. And we start them out in the primary school competitions or in the grassroots competition, and then we move them up the ladder. And just recently, about January, we have one person right now can represent FIFA as a FIFA referee. And the idea is to get as many FIFA qualified referee as possible. Now I'll tell you what, FIFA referees make more money than any coach. And when we talk about development, right, a lot of times people think about the money first. And I said it yesterday. Whenever you are thinking development, always think volunteer. Work for nothing. Work without pay. If you can work without pay for a long period of time, when you start getting pay, you're going to have quality. What people want to do, they want to get money and no quality, and it's not going to last. Take some time to develop. Develop the passion, develop the knowledge and the skill in whatever you're doing. So if you're going to become a referee, I think the starting referee maybe get $20, $25, $15. But then by the time you reach the FIFA, you're talking about $500 per day. And you're spending a whole week, and they're taking care of accommodation and everything. But you have to start not getting paid at all. One of the biggest struggle I have is with my ball boys. Because I will go in the primary school especially, high school, and say, listen, I want some ball boys. I ain't telling them that they're getting paid. And they start to work, but as they get bigger, I ain't one ball boy, I give them $5. When the bigger ones move out, I give them $10. Because I teach them that they have to learn to work for nothing. The money will come later. And I just want them to appreciate the game, see the game, understand the game, feel the game. The best ball boys or ball girls that I have are the ones that don't even care nothing about money. They just want to run after the ball. That's all. But when you look at them, sometimes I'm commentating and watching them how efficient they are. Because I will just give them one instruction. Don't kick the ball on. Wait for them to ask the ball, give them the ball. And they develop, and then they become some of the best football players because they get to see every single game. That is what you call development. And so therefore, we make sure that we try to train the referees. And a lot of times, our referees get more criticism than the players because they make mistakes. And you know what I would ask the teams or the coaches? A game has just been played, and you want to kill the referee because the referee made one mistake. How many mistakes did you make as a coach? And above all, how many mistakes did the players make? Plenty. We'll kill them now? It's always the referee's fault when the game is finished. Always. The referee don't know what you're doing, but you know what you're doing. You're right in front of the goal, nobody in front of the goal, and you kick it over in the pavilion. Because it makes you feel good because you have somebody to blame. A lot of times, we spend a lot of time developing and training. You need to do the same. Let the referees do their job and you do yours. Next. Now, it is important that when you're developing, you give people capacity to develop. Again, FIFA plays a big role in helping us with our facilities. So they help us to develop our stadium, they help us to develop our fields. Right now we have a main field here, and we have Stony Ground, and we have the Road School field. We are now developing bigger fields at East End, full-size field at East End, and a full-size field at West End. And we also have the turf field, and of course we're going to put down a couple more turf fields. Because if you can find places for people to play, then they will want to play. The key thing is, though, when you give facilities, you are responsible for protecting them. Right now, the biggest problems that we have is people, everybody fighting for the turf. Lovely facility, everybody want to train there, but then they're messing it up. Garbage, they want to pull along the fence, walk under the fence, and then everybody wants the field for themselves. But what about the other teams? I tell you what, try playing the game of football by yourself. Try doing it. You have to give other teams an opportunity to develop too. So we try to develop the facilities, and this here, where we are right now, is one of our biggest assets, because we can bring teams in and put them up without having to pay thousands of dollars to the hotels. But not only that, when we are preparing teams to go overseas, we can bring them in and have a 2-day camp, a weekend camp. Again, it's important that you take care of the facility. And we're planning to make this facility bigger. While we're talking about that, one of our biggest events is a soccer camp, a football camp that we have every summer. And up to last night, I met with a gentleman up to 11 o'clock. And he wants to bring down a number of coaches, a number of materials. But what he wants to do is to partner with the government and the police and the governor's office to integrate a crime prevention plan in our football soccer camp. So before you go out on the field, we will have the police officers and different persons talk to us about crimes and violence, but at the same time, they will bring in coaches, expertise, and I said to him, well, you know, we could extend it to the other sporting fraternity. And he said, that's an excellent idea, where all of us could learn, and then when we are finished with the police part, we just branch off into basketball, football, and athletics. Good, and of course, one of the things that we plan to do, I feel that Anguilla is small, we don't have a bus service, but if we can have bus, even when our teams come in, we don't have to pay somebody, so we make sure that our vehicles are working so that you can have opportunity. Because I feel every time we organize the high school competition, I make sure that there's bus service for persons to go home. But you know what is surprising? Most of the footballers don't go home on the bus now. It's the spectators. But at least there's not an excuse that you can't get to the games. And because in the bigger countries like St. Kitts, even Antigua, they have to bus to the central area. And I always tell people that one of the biggest assets that we have in Anguilla is that we can get to any point within 20 minutes. So we can practice every day. So just before I finish that, I want to ask you a question and think seriously about it. Who is the greatest footballing nation, or which country is the greatest footballing nation in the world? I can't hear you. Brazil. Do you think Anguilla can beat Brazil? Ever? I can't hear you. Are you sure about that? Brazil, you know the population of Brazil? Somebody say no. Listen, I say yes with an emphatic why. Because I always tell people, listen, it's all about this. We have the same heart. We have same people, but do we have the same passion? If I can get 11 persons that could practice 12 hours per day for a year, I will beat them, because they can't have nobody that could do that. It's just a matter of getting the people in the right place and giving them the correct training all the time. And if we have the discipline, if we have the passion, it is not about number, because if you pluck out any Brazilian heart, you're going to find the same type of heart that you got. So give them the same opportunity. And I just said it. At any time, I can get every single one in here within 15 to 20 minutes. If that is an advantage, because everybody feel that our size is a big disadvantage. Our biggest advantage is our lack of size. Because anybody could be in this one area at any time. And we don't have to wait for somebody in Guyana. For them to get to their home, they have to sleep in the village, in the town, and sometimes get to their village 2 days later. So if the national team is training in the capital, they will have to come in, find a hotel, and stay there for 2 or 3 days. Whereas you can just walk here, even for West End. So it's an advantage. But we feel we have an excuse. Oh, we don't have numbers. Brazil got all these good players and this big size. Partner, foolishness. And that is what I would always use when I'm playing against the big country, because people feel it's an advantage and disadvantage. And one of the problems that we have is that Anguilla have to play against El Salvador. But El Salvador using professionals, and our people coming from work and having to play. And we say that's an excuse. But if I can get the government to say, listen, Anguilla has to play, let's you pay them half the salary, I pay them half. And they don't do no work for that 6 months, and they just play football. Those are the kind of things that we're going to have to do to beat Brazil. But here's the thing. The government is paying half of your salary. The football is paying half of your salary. And you're still in coming practice, so you can't beat Brazil. Well, I was tired, so I sleep. While you sleeping, Brazil practicing, and they done better than you. So there's always say this: he that falls behind in a race shall forever remain behind until. If you are running a race, Mr. Rollins, you're going to always be behind in the race until what? I can't hear. You develop yourself. You got to finish this properly, else you ain't going to win the race. Say it again.
Get faster?
No, run faster. Yes, if me and you run into this finishing line and you in front of me, the only way I'm going to pass you is if I run faster than you. And you're going to say, but suppose that person slow down. Well, if the person slow down, I'm still running faster than them. So if Brazil, look at it, if Brazil is over at the wall and I have to pass Brazil, it means they are 24 hours in the day and they must sleep. They must sleep. But when they're sleeping, I'm practicing. That's the only how we're going to beat them. Think about it. I don't care about numbers. Because I have 1 million people. The 1 million people have to sleep. And when the 1 million people sleeping, I practicing. That's how you win races. Next. Next. Look up there and tell me what you see. Thank you. I'm done. Did I take 10 or 15 minutes? If you stop learning today, you stop leading tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. And now we reach to the segment of the program where we will have questions. So, any questions from any member of the audience? Yes? There's a mic.
I have a question for Mr. Johnson. So on the slides, it was saying something about the AFA marketing team. Can you explain what they do and how to be a part of it and stuff of that nature?
Yes, I know you jump at that because that's your field. No, one of the biggest areas in development is making sure that you promote and you market whatever you're doing. So what football does, everything that they're doing, they need to sell it out into the public so that the public knows what is happening. Also, we are responsible, we are accountable for what we have from FIFA. So FIFA like to see that development is taking place. So the more we send out there, the better they feel and the more they send to us. So what we have to do is to make sure that we have a website so that we can send information and so that people like in the outside world, FIFA, CONCACAF, CFU, but more so our public can know what are the stuff that we're doing and available to them. So we send things out on our website, we promote what we're doing and we promote the people that we're developing. And at the same time, we make sure that the stakeholders, they get mileage. For example, if we have sponsors, say for Maliohana, if we put things out there and Maliohana see their picture and they are associated with positive things, they will not only pump more money into football, but they will get more involved in it. So it is important that our marketing, our promotion, and so forth. And there was one other slide I think I missed, because I don't know how I missed that. We talk about capacity building. And we feel that even with all our workshops, there's not enough being done to really develop clubs and individuals. So what we do, we have workshops, we have symposium like you're doing, where we could bring in the clubs, we could bring in our managers, for example. You have opportunity to become managers of team, but you need to be trained. So we have capacity building workshop as well as CPDs where you have personal development so that you can go on from strength to strength.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so if you have your question, you can just go, you could either line up by the mic or what have you, so we can proceed fluently with this.
So my questions would be geared towards Mr. Rollins, can't remember his name, and the lady. So like football, I know football, we have the grassroots, primary level, high school, U14, U15, all these are different stages in terms of development programs. Do these exist with the other sports?
Okay, track and field is concerned. The program is not that structured. The program is not that structured. However, you will be aware that they have, at the primary level, there are several coaches who engage the kids in preparation for sports day. And they keep on the preparation for many of the other local meets that take place. The real problem is challenges, finances. We can't really motivate or give incentives like football at this point in time because money makes the mayor go. So persons go where they can get more support, financial support. But there are programs, yes.
Yeah, in volleyball, we actually do have a grassroots program that we run with the primary schools. And once again, to high school, we also have the academy that we run at the high school level as well. And that has worked for us in the past couple of years. And like I said earlier, we were able to field an under 23 team, which was actually an under 18 team, because they're all high school students, to compete in a regional tournament. And so that came out of the grassroots and the academy program that we have running.
Netball.
So in terms of Anguilla cricket, there was a grassroots program that was started, and it was interrupted by COVID, and it was restarted in last September, and we're hoping that we can get it going very shortly.
Excuse me, can you repeat your question?
I asked if there are development programs like grassroots, primary level, like how Mr. Johnson mentioned about football. I wanted to know if it existed amongst the other sports in terms of development stages for kids, for youth.
Okay, with netball, we have the primary school netball, where we have volunteer coaches coach each primary school, and then we have a competition. The competition is like next week, starting next week, Monday. We do have that, and after the competition, we are in the process of starting like a training on the Saturday mornings for the primary school age children to continue, yes.
So outside of primary school, does it have clubs like netball clubs, volleyball, cricket clubs, anything like that?
Outside of the...
Outside of playing in primary school and high school. And if it doesn't have, are there initiatives in place to start programs where clubs are developed?
Yes, we had clubs, but they are non-functioning, and we are in the process of reviving those clubs currently. So,
Yes.
Let me speak. I certainly wanted. Oh, you got it.
Yes, in athletics there are several clubs, and they accept children from maybe the age of 5 and 6. There's Elite Club, Black and Gold, Rainbow Rockets, Diamond Athletics. There are several clubs that athletes can participate in. And as you want to realize, because we have such a small population, these same athletes are members of other sporting clubs also.
I just wanted to say that we've recognized that perhaps our biggest failure, obstacle to progress is the lack of clubs. So I'm glad that in terms of cricket. And so we have the Masters Club, which is persons who are over a certain age who have, not really trying to play cricket. We're expecting to get selected to the Leeward Islands or West Indies team because they are, they're older. But that's about it. And so we really feel that we need to have clubs come into existence and be functional, because the club gives structure and organization. If you notice what is central to all of our presentations is the need for organization. And organizations, and if you don't have organization, you get nowhere.
Okay, I have one more question before I take my seat. And all of you can speak on this. I've been a referee I'm a referee for football. I referee in the primary school tournaments, and while I was refereeing, I saw a lot of kids that have tremendous talent and potential to further play football in long term. And these same kids that I see playing the football, they are also in other sports. Now, my question is, when these young talents, when they are recognized or when they are found in terms of academics, are there any programs in place where these kids can be assisted to ensure that when they finish high school, because they're in primary school, like when they reach high school level, they'll be able to continue playing the sport in tertiary level or move on? Any assistance in terms of academics?
So I suppose when you say academics, you mean how can we help them to further their
education? Because you have the talent for sports, but then you
Yes.
also need to pass your grades and all
Okay,
that.
I had that cleared up, right? Because I often have to deal with this matter, and I have to deal with it sternly, in that everybody feels that every athletic person must be academically inclined. There are some persons who are not going to get no more than a D or E. It does not mean that they can't go to the top in athletics, whether it be football, volleyball. What you want, because I always tell people, right, that we get confused between education and schooling. And so a lot of times we feel that if a person is not an A student, they can't get a scholarship to play football. So what we have to do is to make sure our athletes are mentally prepared, first of all, for the challenge of moving on to the highest level, and they are equipped with the knowledge and education that they could function at their highest capacity. And their highest capacity might be a D, because everybody feels that in order for you to be an athletics scholar, you have to have an A. Obviously, it will be an advantage. But the reality is, a lot of our athletes are not academically inclined. But we still need to give them the assistance so that they can perform at their optimum. Because what you don't want to do, and I find that happens a lot in school, where Mr. Rollins spoke about it earlier when he said that sports, they should be a whole day. Because they don't see that sports is a vital part of education and development. They see the maths and the English only. But there's some persons, right, who will never pass maths or English, but they can excel in sport. I can remember when Mr. Rollins spoke about Zarnel. I can remember distinctly my Zarnel being in a band 3, and he was almost bawling in the front of the class. And I asked him, what's wrong? My mother don't want me to go back athletics because of some confusion they had with the whatever. And when I went to her, she gave me a crap. And I said to her before I left, this man might be your passport out of poverty. Because if he is athletically inclined, give him a chance. And just by giving them a chance, you will be able to help them.
Wow, he passed the mic to me. I would not continue on the trials and tribulations and challenges with developing Zarnel, but I must say we always see the great potential that he had. To me, he always displayed world-class possibilities. And therefore, we see the need to push on to go above and beyond to ensure that things happen for him. Regarding intellectual development, I must say for that to happen, we need more support around particular athletes, because most, if not all, are coaches. They are volunteers. And they have their personal lives as well as their private jobs to carry out. It is very difficult for a coach to coach an afternoon, find themselves a weekend or after coaching to go to a child home or to the child's school to administer that child in their intellectual development. There would be a need to have a support system around that child, which might include a teacher from the school who are actually looking at the development. And I would hasten to say here, we are aware of the needs for that. There's something called the long-term athlete development. However, it is difficult to bring it fully on board because of the limited human resources we have at our disposal. Thank you.
I'm not sure I could add much more to that, because I think we in volleyball would have the same issue as athletics, where we don't have the personnel to actually spend that kind of time assisting the students. Now, we do lend help when asked, if we can, to individual students, one-on-one, but to have a constant running program, no, we don't have the personnel to do that right now.
Well, I want to say, just repeat what I said in my opening presentation, that sports has got to be co-curricular, not extracurricular, not something that you do at the end of the day, on the weekend or in the summer or whatever. And then the sports would be alongside the academics. It will not be seen as secondary too. And it will be part of the whole education system. It should be part of the whole education system, so that athletes can see that what they're putting their efforts into is going to propel them forward in the world. And you don't have to be an academic to make money, to do whatever. We just heard how much money these players make, the referees make, the coaches, if they are paid in the proper system, can make. So there is a opportunity, lots of opportunities for persons who are involved in sports. Anybody can look at the TV and see how much money the professional players make. So there is a future in it, and therefore our policymakers need to ensure that sports is given the correct and the proper place in the whole education system.
Okay, I think the question boils back down to whether there is a ongoing educational program for the athletes, as into what you do to assist them with the education going forward. Netball doesn't have a planned system in place. We assist where we can. We are putting things in place to do the full fold to help the children to grow from the grassroots stage upward. I think there are opportunities out there, but we don't really have something in place at the moment.
Any more questions? While we wait on some other questions to come up, the question asks about academic assistance for the athletes. It's very pertinent and it'll always be timely. And I don't know, Mr. Johnson, if you recall a conversation we've had several years ago about rendering some assistance to students, especially those who are on national teams. It'll always be an issue, but something has to be done to help them, because you are asking children, athletes, to spend some amount of hours to participate in the sport. I personally feel that by extension, something must be done to render that academic assistance. Now, all may not be A students, B students, or C students, but what you see a lot is a lot of them are more technically inclined. So maybe this is an avenue that needs to be explored more so that they can maximize their optimal potential. Bearing in mind that everyone doesn't have to get a 4-year degree. There are trade schools, technical colleges, which offer a 2-year program, and you can get your certification in whether it be mechanics, HVAC, what have you.
Just to piggyback on that. And you know what? We spoke about partnership. It doesn't have to be something in football. It could be something across the board. And we talk about a comprehensive school system. So then there should be something geared towards athletes where they are met at their level and they're given certain type of, instead of having them do 11 and 12 and 13 subjects, they could do just the basic subjects, but then they have subjects now that are geared towards preparing athletes for career.
Good afternoon. This question is for Dr. Hodge. Yes, this question is for Dr. Hodge. Can you tell me more about the Cricket Academy in Anguilla?
Well, thank you for your question. There are, as far as I'm aware, there are 2 cricket academies which are involved in coaching. So I won't get into details here, but you can contact your sports teacher, and then she will give you the details. But what we are trying to focus on, we're trying to find a way to have these academies integrated in the teaching and development of cricket in the primary schools to begin with, and in the high school. And I understand, because I wasn't around in terms of the administration then, but I understand that when the program was started last year, that there was a lot of interest from children, in boys and girls. And so we want to have them incorporated in the training in the schools, and then also take it to the level after school and in the summers and so forth here in the park and wherever the facilities will exist.
Thank you very much. We are reaching to the stage where we're going to have to move on a bit because other things have to occur. So we're going to ask for Miss Deandra Fleming to come and assist with the presentation of certificates. Miss Fleming. Sorry for the abrupt nature, but things have to move on. Okay, yeah, you just have to get it.
Good afternoon, all. It is my pleasure to present a token of appreciation from all of the members of my group to you. Your contribution was greatly needed for the success of this conference. Your deliveries of the development of sports in Anguilla were insightful to all of us. Please come forward as I say your name. Dr. Timothy Hodge. Mrs. Rosamond Henderson. Mr. Jason Leibert. Mr. Rollins Richardson. Mr. Colin Johnson. And to our chairperson, Mr. Winston Duncan. Can all the members of my group please come forward? It is our pleasure to present this token to a special person. This individual guided, assisted, and helped with the preparation and delivery of this conference. Ms. Bennett, can you please come forward? Thank you all and have a wonderful day.
So we will now bring this occasion to an end with the vote of thanks from Ms. Camille Gomez.
Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to express my group's thanks, heartfelt gratitude to our chairperson, Mr. Duncan, and our esteemed guest speakers, Mr. Colin Johnson, Mr. Rollins Richardson, Dr. Timothy Hodge, Mr. Jason Libor, and Mrs. Rasman Henderson. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today and for sharing your valuable insights, experiences, and expertise. Your words have not only enlightened us, but have surely inspired and motivated everyone in the room to think deeper about the development of sports in Anguilla and how it has impacted the future of sports in our society. A sincere thank you to all of our attendees and participants. Your presence here means a lot. Your engagement and enthusiasm throughout this session have truly enriched the experience for everyone. We are also deeply thankful to our sponsors, Pam Alma Seafood Company, Paper Barbecue, Ken's Barbecue, Liberty Credit Union, Best Buy, Tropical Distributors, Pink Mako, Ashley's & Son Supermarket, Island Wines and Spirit, Titanium Audio Visual, AFA, Max Printing, High Tech Designs, Willie's Bars, and Vanterpool Water Services. Your generosity and support has been crucial in making this event possible. From refreshments to other resources, your contributions played a significant role in ensuring a smooth and successful event. Lastly, a big thank you to the organizing team and others working behind the scenes. Your dedication, long hours, and teamwork brought this symposium to life. Once again, thank you all for being here and for your contribution to the success of this event. We look forward to seeing you at future initiatives as we continue to promote growth, learning, and excellence in the world of sports. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you all. Do enjoy the refreshments provided, and we look forward to seeing your faces in the places of sports. Thank you.